Hi everyone, I'm going to start with a bit of a recap from last week. I can't quite remember how much I covered, but there's one or two people weren't here last week, so I thought it might be useful to do a recap. So February's project, this month's project is looking towards the light. That's the sort of theme, or what they call Contre Jour, which is the French expression for against the light. So it's really a particular kind of light effect. It's a particular effect that creates a certain atmosphere. I'll show you a few of the pictures I showed last week. So this was a book I got last year, and the whole theme of the book is painting into the light. And this artist Jenny Aiken, her work, very much reflects that idea. So that's the sort of thing I mean, where a light source will be probably back here, and things like the hills are thrown into a kind of silhouette. And then sometimes you'll get like reflections on water. That would be another sort of instance where the light source is back here, all the trees in shadow. And then some, around near the light source, you get a bit of kind of light flare, and they appear slightly lighter. So that's a couple of examples from that book. And then I was thinking about particular artists that have used this to good effect. And Ken Howard is he's dead now, but he was a Royal Academician, very successful British artist, English artist, and very influential. He did a lot of his work outdoors, so he's very influential, with painters like myself that do outdoor painting. But this will be a nice example of some of the things that he did. So again, the light source is sort of back here somewhere, or perhaps up here. There's all the figures are more or less sort of thrown into shadow and silhouetted against the background. So you can see the figures are actually darker than the sky, darker than the water. There's sometimes little bits of sort of almost like halos, little bits of light bouncing off the heads and the shoulders. And then things like these windbreakers, they appear quite transparent, so they often appear very bright and translucent. So that's quite a nice book to have a look at. I'll leave a couple of these books out. Another artist I've always been quite fond of is a chap called Bill Jacklin. Again, another British artist, lives in America, but is a Royal Academician, so he shows with the Royal Academy. But these will be typical of some of the paintings he does, and he does a lot of these kind of paintings where you've got a light source, within the picture, or looking into the light, and then they're almost sort of quite abstract. So they read like, they are figures in the station, but they also read as sort of marks and blobs and lines that join up to each other. The shadows sort of merge with the figures, so it can create quite interesting sort of pictorial designs with these sort of light effects. So that's the theme. If you want any references, hopefully you've found some of your own. I found a few in these two folders. So, and you probably find some in my folders anyway. There's lots in there. But you just have to look through and see which you think, fit the bill. This, I think I started a demo like this last week. I can't remember, or whether I just started it on my Thursday. But I didn't. Right. Okay. So this is the one I'm going to use for my demo project, and I've quickly sort of sketched it out this morning. So I started with this photo here that I took in January when it was really nice and frosty. I was just walking my wife's dog. And come down, you want to go down the steps in Lee towards the station. So, and it's just a lovely sort of sunrise, low lighting, frosty morning. So interesting colours. But that was the photo, and then I decided it might be better without the lamppost. There's a little bit of conflict between these two, so I cropped it a bit. I thought, well, that's quite interesting. But I was thinking, well, maybe if I crop it even more, perhaps I don't need all of that tree. And what I really liked was like this chap here and these long shadows, quite like the railings and the light itself. So that is I've then cropped it to that. So that's kind of what came into. So with, if you've got your own photos, obviously you can very easily do this on the phone or on a computer. I crop most of my photos. I also crop them to different shapes. Sometimes I'll crop them quite long and thin, sometimes squares. So you can do that, and then I print them the shape that I want them. So that's quite a good thing to do if you've got your own references. I'll leave those two there. In terms of the painting, I decided with this one to work on a white surface. So this is just a bit of canvas that hasn't been stretched on board or anything more stretching, but I've just got from a roll of canvas. If anybody wants any, I've got loads of this. Just cut yourself a bit off. I can bring more in. With this one, I want to do, so because it's white, I picked white because I find with things like sunrises and sunsets, I find it really hard to get that lovely glow of the warm colours, unless I've got a white background. So that's kind of why I've done it. But I don't necessarily need a white background for everything else. So what I would start with is just a very thin kind of wash, just to kind of, I'll sort of, I'll work a little bit here. Just to kind of stain the canvas, because I don't particularly want to paint the whole thing. I just want to make sure I press go here, did I? Yes, I think I did. Right, so I've sketched out where the trees will be. That's where the sun's going to be. But this is just really just to get something onto the canvas. The sky, it doesn't particularly matter about the sky really, because I could come back and just put fixed paint. I'll just pop that there for the time being. There will be some yellows here. I've sketched roughly where the tree is. Just used a pastel pencil. So the next bit is probably the mud flats themselves, and they're a mixture of warmer yellowy colours reflecting, but there's also some slightly lavendery greys here. So I'll then mix a slightly darker, so reusing some bit of blue and a little bit of crimson and what was on the brush anyway. And a tiny bit, well, maybe I won't use white. I want to keep the colours thin because I want them to dry quickly, because what I should be able to do is this canvas will absorb a bit of the moisture, and then I should be able to paint straight on with thicker paint. So this is oil paint, but it will dry reasonably quick. Or what I can do is, if I'm finding it's too wet to paint into, I could just blot it a little bit with just with some kitchen towel, something like that. Just take some of the moisture out of it. But that would be, that will probably absorb fairly quickly anyway. And actually that can kind of come down to here. What drawing I've got is going to be very easy to lose actually. Yeah, so there is more drawing in there. There's like a shed and a road. But really what I want to get in is just the big shapes of light and dark with just a hint of the colours. So I think I might just go to there. Maybe the rest I can do as I go. I'll just do a little bit of the tree so you can see how that would be. So again, that is just slightly darker. So just a slightly darker mix of what I've got here. And it's really just to give me an undercoat on the canvas, a bit like, if I was working on a house door or something like that. If it was a dark colour, I need to put an undercoat there. So again, around where here, I don't want it too dark, so maybe I'll just make that a little bit more yellowy. So I just want to be able to see roughly where the tree's going to go. That's going to kind of come in here. And the nice thing about drawing with the paint itself is I can very quickly wash bits out, white bits out. These are the water mixable oils, which are there for everybody to use if anybody wants to have a go. I've got loads of these.
And the brush you're using, Paul,
yeah, this is it's just like a nylon brush.
Yeah.
It's a filbert shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got various brushes here, but yeah, that's that's fine for just kind of sketching in roughly where everything's going to go. I don't need to put too much detail at this stage, just really need to get the main shape in. Just got to work my way through the tree. That's going to be about there. Let's say if I want to take areas out, I could just get an old brush. So I'll put a bit in and just take it out. The tree's going to kind of come over here. It's very easy if I want to, just a clean brush, a little bit damp, and I can just wash bits out with a cleaner brush and just blot it. So I can alter my drawing as I go. Well, the nice thing about this is I can get a sense very quickly, you know, if I keep this going, next 10-15 minutes, I could get some paint all over the image. The figure obviously is going to go a bit darker. It gives me almost like a sort of tonal plan for the painting, and I can see the balance of light and dark, and make sure that the composition's all working before I then start faffing about with little details. Because all the details, if they're all in the wrong place, it's not really worth carrying on with, really. So that's quite a nice way to work. And as I say, if say I was working on a grey board, I might go straight in with thicker paint. Quite often I do this sort of stage though. Sometimes I'll just do it with light and dark. I won't necessarily use colour. I'll just use maybe shades of grey or shades of brown, just to sort of sketch out the light and dark, and then I'll then go in the next layer with the colour. Okay, so that's basically how I do it. Okay, right.